Hey everybody, this is Way to Fail, and Path of Exile 1.0 is here. It is released. This is awesome news. Very excited. And we're going to be doing a look at the game here, just kind of progressively going along. And I'm going to be playing here, at least hopefully surviving a little bit, with a Marauder in Nemesis League, which is a hardcore league. Rare monsters have a Nemesis mod, and Nemesis mods are supposedly nasty. We shall see. But there are some changes with the 1.0 update, some cosmetic things. A lot of enemies have nice new death animations. Some things have carried over from later parts of Path of Exile. And this is nice because Nemesis League, you get nice little stash things because your stash is empty because it's a new league. So, oh hell, not sure why I have some of these on 4 and some on 1. But what we're going to look at today is starting off with probably the most important change for 1.0, the introduction of a new class, which is the Scion, who I have not unlocked because, amazingly, I have not actually beaten the game on normal difficulty. I was actually pretty close before, but then ran out of time due to work-related things, but we're going to knock that out here in a little bit. There's some added content to the end of Act 3, so the final boss that was there is not the final boss. We'll cross that bridge when we reach it. They have had some pretty significant skill tree works. If you're unfamiliar with Path of Exile, it has a skill tree that makes Final Fantasy X fans wet dream themselves, because you get to go all over the place, just essentially travel down paths starting from your initial node. The Marauder is very much a strength character, so that's what you get, and you can zoom all the way in, zoom all the way out. 6 classes to choose from. I'll make another sort of basic getting started video, but probably the biggest significant changes with things like the Scion blocking out areas in the middle, so you get little notices here for the Nemesis League, which just started today, who's going where. Yeah, there's some pretty big changes just in terms of things like chaos immunity and plenty of the nodes and stuff getting moved around, but probably the most important change of all is that you can't cross through the middle of the tree like maybe you used to be able to. So some builds just really got broke. But that's how it goes. Whole new release here. We're going to see if I don't die in the mud flats too quick. I'm not totally attached to this character. I don't generally play melee classes in ARPGs too much, and especially with the great Roas here, it's going to be an issue. Now, I am going to try and make this guy a little tanky, but for now I'm going for, oh boy. And this is what we want to avoid, is just things chasing me all around. But at least the ground slam is going to do some substantial damage. Yeah, Roas are the kind of bane of hardcore people's existence because of their ability to charge and do massive damage. So of course I'm missing with my ground slam. But there's a few things that's really stood out to me in the update. Let me turn my mic real quick. There's some things that have stood out to me in the update, specifically that the graphics the graphics look a lot nicer. The anti-aliasing seems to work better, and maybe it's just a matter of Onyxia breathing deeper. For those of you who understand what that means, I don't know. But at least while recording, for instance, I'm not getting any stutter kind of stutter problems that I used to. So the client runs nicer. There's a lot of new animations. More importantly, though, is just the endgame tweaking. It's probably another thing that's there, because for those of you who have played a Path of Exile, and for those of you who have stuck it longer, pretty much one thing that Grinding Gear Games wanted to do was change the end game a bit, to where people who wanted to do boss runs and who maybe wanted to farm some certain areas for experience felt at a disadvantage compared to those who did maps. And maps are kind of the randomly generated in-game content. Now they've changed the way some of the experience is distributed, so that if you want to, say, do boss runs, you can get experience that way and farm towards the level cap, which is 100. If you want to run a few specific areas in Act 3 instead and kind of farm monsters, that way you can, so you have multiple farming places. But in terms of danger versus risk and reward, maps are still where it's at. So, like I said, there's a lot of really good things in Path of Exile, but the 1.0 has brought some significant changes, probably the most of which, at least that'll be interesting for some of you if you haven't noticed already, is that it is up and available on Steam now. Does not cost a dime. Path of Exile, highly recommend it. You are welcome to add me on Steam, and we can see if we can game together here. Yeah, like those there's some nice graphic UI improvements here. We're going to the lower strand. That water looks nicer. All looking very clean. So lower submerged passage. Let's see how this goes here. Like I said, I've done some races. I've done some other videos for Path of Exile, and what it's boiled down to me, at least sometimes, is I gotta really adjust my flasks here. Like I said, if you're unfamiliar with Path of Exile mechanics, I will make a kind of getting started video for those of you that are unfamiliar with how some of these systems work. Because the flasks are nice in that they have multiple charges when you use them. You refill those charges by killing things. There's a lot of things to kill. Now, Nemesis mode, like I said before, it's hardcore. And when I say hardcore, for those of you unfamiliar with the Diablo 2 definition of hardcore, that means when your character's dead, it's dead. And specifically that means you're kicked out of the league or bracket or whatever you want to call it, and you go to the softcore mode, which is kind of where everybody else is. Now these enemies that have blue highlights on them are just superior enemies. They're not rare ones, so they're not going to have the Nemesis mods. I'm sure I'm going to run into that pretty soon, and while it may not be a problem here, it could be a problem later. Fortunately, my ground slamming's doing a lot better than the last time I tried to race with a Marauder, which ended very poorly and full of tears. Of course, I took Cleave instead of ground slam because I thought ground slam was just a sad little AoE. Of course, since the last time I played this game significantly, they have buffed melee quite a bit, which tells you a little bit about how long it's been since I've played. Like I said, I've been definitely keeping an eye on this game. I really like Path of Exile. I'm very excited about it being released, and I look forward to bringing more of the goods here, as you will. But it's not going to be necessarily a full playthrough all the time here, because like many action RPGs, it's only so interesting for so long to see me just squish, squish, squish again and again. We're not going to go to the Flooded Depths right now. And the reason we're not, let me just pull up the map here, is that this is monster level 5, level 4, level 4, level 2. These side areas are interesting, but they are significantly scarier and far worse for your health and livelihood. The enemies are a lot stronger in the side areas than the main areas. So what I tend to do, especially on hardcore, is kind of revisit those later. There's some quest rewards that I will want from there, but we'll cross it when we get it. Right now my goal, at least for the time being, is kind of to treat this sort of like the path I did for races. And I'm getting a lot of things to follow me. I am just trying to kite them so I can AoE them all down. As we get the waypoint, which is much more clearly marked. I do like that change. It's a lot easier to see it pops off the map. There we go. So waypoint here. Like I said, this is a game that is very similar to Diablo 2. It's very much a spiritual successor. So we go to the upper submerged passage. I'm trying to go to the ledge, because the ledge is a pretty easy early farming spot, at least for some people who try and make it and survive through races. It's kind of a boon here. Let me make sure I don't get killed first. And the ledge is going to be the next area there, as I have someone thinking about attacking me. Let's look at the skill tree real quick. What I'm building towards right now, Marauder, I'm going to want a lot of life. I'm going to get a lot of life. And the first thing I'm going to get, though, is Butchery, because I'm making a two-handed build. I'm still not exactly sure what skill I want to go with it, but I'm going to be going for two-handed melee weapons, which means for now just that. And this is a skill of the tree that you can go pretty much along there. You do get enough points to possibly jump into other parts of the tree, even taking some other characters' starting skills, but it remains to be seen what's going to be viable. And even still, people like me who haven't necessarily played through the entire game all the time are going to be in a position where probably this Marauder, if he does live, and he probably won't, because I suck at surviving in hardcore because I make mistakes. Eventually, this guy's going to die and you just have to restart. Or eventually I'm going to get far enough leveled to see that, hey, my build sucks or isn't viable or something, and just try again. And yes, there are build guides out there, and there are some things you can follow. The skill tree is huge, and there is some min-maxing that can be done, but I'm trying to take some of this, just sort of let the newness stay on me a little bit. I will make some noob mistakes throughout all of this, and I don't mind, because as long as I'm having fun swatting things, killing things, getting moderately interesting to crazy loot, then I'm all good. But I would like to see some kind of a rare monster here. I've actually managed to avoid rares for some reason. I guess they don't have nearly as many rares in the opening going. You get some unique monsters. So we're just going to have big stacks of people to kill. Gnarled branch may be more damage for me. 13 to 12. It's a superior driftwood wall. I'll pick up the gnarl branch. It doesn't have the sockets that I want. By the way, nice thing about Path of Exile sockets, for those of you who don't know, you can just pop it out, put it back in. It's not like Blizzard style or World of Warcraft style sockets where you can't get things back in. So like I said, I'm interspersing some information for those of you who may not know. Okay, here we go. Oh boy. This is not gonna be good. Now the Brood Princess, I believe, is not a, well, it's not a rare because it's, you have the gold text that's just kind of a specific to the area monster. Rare monsters are yellow. And I am frozen. This is a terrible situation to be in. You do not want a Sister of Merveil to mess with the brood child that's right there. Yeah, ice is a terrifying thing as a hardcore character. So I am just trying to take out all these guys. I do not like the summons here, but Brood Princess should be out shortly. Should be. There we go. And you see, just get explosion of items. That's kind of the goal here. So Stone Axe is pretty nice. Does not work with my current skill that I'm using a lot, Ground Slab, because it's only staves or maces. Heavy Strike, that works a lot of things. I don't have the proper dexterity for that yet, and won't for a while because the skill tree, there are different kinds of nodes. You have stat nodes, 10th of strength, and this is not a hybrid character, so this is going to be very much an armor build, at least for the early game. Don't know if I'm going to go Chaos Immune or this for not. Chances are I won't. Probably just try and keep it life and tanky, or full of life, very tanky on this, but I guess the bigger goal for me, at least in the first running here, is just to even make it out of normal difficulty. Because I've made it in softcore mode pretty far through normal. Actually, just about to the end. Like I said, I would have beat it this week if I had run out of time. But hey, we get the 1.0 release, so I will take that. So here's the ledge. We're just going to play a little bit into the ledge and just call it a video just yet, which is one reason the next video that I have, assuming this character survives, is going to be where maybe Nemesis gets a little more interesting, where you start seeing some rare monsters here, because for now this is really just a sweet farming area. You can join groups. Ooh, if I don't get my ass beaten killed first, actually. There we go. Anyway, this is a really nice convenient farming area. Lots of things like that stack up and are easy to kill. There's a waypoint in the middle of it. I'm going to get rid of some of these. You may also notice, for those of you who are not familiar with this game, that I do not have gold that I can pick up. There's no gold that drops in this game. That's because there's a variety of currency items that you can get just to trade, use things, and let's see here. Some examples of that are like armor scraps, which will let you improve or modify armor. And these are things that you can use on your items or that you can trade for other currencies here. But I am flying through my mana so fast. So I probably shouldn't be ground slamming the individual archers. And here's another new thing. Cannibals, they have a nice, at least I think nice new death animation. There we go. You can see their souls just escape from their body. It's a very nice, pleasant surprise touch. Very well done. Oh no, died at position 23. Rip, 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 rip. I really like the community in this game. Some people say it's very trolly or not trying to help very much, but the people who give sound advice really tend to give really good advice. The Reddit community is very friendly. The developer interaction in this game is fantastic. Better really than, I'll be honest, it's been better interaction I've seen from a company of this size than any other like comparable independent release. Grindy Gear Games is just awesome in general, and they listen to their feedback and they use it when it's appropriate, or they stick to their guns and say, guys, this is how the game's going to be. Like, there's a released alpha version, or a leaked alpha version of the skill tree that people were freaking out about, and the game developer just pretty much said, guys, I know, I appreciate your concerns, but it's still in test, going to be in testing all the way up to get changed since, and probably even get changed since then. I apologize if my audio cut during the transitions here. I'm trying to remember that can happen. It did used to happen before, but let's see here. We completed a quest getting into the caves.
There's a fine line between
and now I have another quest to kill Brutus, who's kind of a little mini boss. And see, you can get all kinds of little rewards here, so we'll just take a reward and call it a video here. There's some skill changes here and things that were not available before. Glacial Hammer is pretty nice, requires a mace or staff once again. Interesting. I do like the cold there. Infernal Blow, this is a fire AoE. Interesting. This is new. I'm going to have to think about some of these things. Requires sword, axe, mace, staff, or unarmed. I like that one because it has a little more variety. Maybe we'll build this character around Infernal Blow, because I do want to have some different options for weapons here. But yeah, we're going to keep Ground Slam for now. Probably not going to use Heavy Strikes so much. Just let me see here if I can actually buy some better armor, because he, like Diablo 2, he refreshes when you come back into town. Specifically, he refreshes every time you come into a level. So it's here. Do not need increased block and stun recovery. That's not terrible. But yeah, this is way to fail with a Path of Exile video. I just want to keep this brief. This is just a, let's call it a brief introduction to, there we go. I'll take that. Heavy chest plate, two linked here. I do have one armor scrap. Alright. Better than the plate vest. We can drop both of these in there and get our skills accordingly. But yeah, this is Path of Exile. It's good. You're going to be seeing plenty more of it from me in the coming days here. I'm going to hold on to that rare, because if you sell sets of rares, you get some pretty good prizes, you could say. And there's all kinds of different recipes you can make selling or doing things, but I'm going to wait to deal with that till later. For now though, I'm going to go ahead and call this a video, and we're going to continue next time with me a little bit more progressed in, and just so we can start to see what Nemesis is all about going forward. So I hope you enjoy it. Play Path of Exile. I'm Way to Fail Self on Steam. Feel free to add me. Look forward to seeing you in game. Take care.